Hi there, it's Tracy Kiernan from stepbysteppainting.net. In this acrylic painting tutorial, I'm going to show you how to paint Easter Gnome. So this little guy is in a purple truck. I'm doing this on an 11 by 14 inch canvas with acrylics. This tutorial does utilize a traceable, so this is free to download. You can click on the link in this video, or if you're viewing these instructions from elsewhere, you can scroll down and find the link to the traceable. And the traceable, the easiest way to get that onto the canvas is using a sheet of graphite paper, which is you trace it and it transfers the image to the canvas. I'll give further instructions on that step when that step comes. And so I'm also going to show you the brushes that I used in this painting. I'm using Princeton Velvet Touch brushes, a 3/4 inch wash, a 3/8 inch angle brush, and a foreground. You can use similar brushes if you don't have those exact ones. And I also used a black POSCA paint pen for some detail work in this painting. There's a lot of details in this painting. It does take quite a bit of time. Easy level, but details. I recommend maybe doing this in 2 sessions because of all the details. I actually painted this in 2 sessions because it did take quite a bit of time to create. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. And the first step that you need to do is draw a hill across the bottom of your canvas. So I have my canvas in vertical format, and I measured about 3 inches from the bottom, 3¼ It doesn't have to be exact, so about 3 inches. Make a little mark and then draw a light curved line all the way across the canvas. Then we're going to paint the sky and the grass. We're going to do this before we transfer our template to the canvas. I recommend doing that absolutely before doing the template transfer. You could do it the opposite way and like outline the template darker and then paint over it, but this way seems a little bit easier. So it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and paint the sky, and the sky consists of bright aqua green and titanium white. And I'm using the 3/4 inch flat wash brush. That's that big flat brush. I'm going to double load my brush in about equal amounts of the aqua and the white. And when I mix my colors together, often I don't mix it all the way because I like having a little bit of color variation and I like blending on the canvas. That's just a technique that I do. And the paint is a little bit thinned out because I dipped my brush in the water and kind of patted it dry, and that little bit of water on my brush helped to thin that paint out. But also that little bit of water is going to help with the flow of the paint so it glides nicely across the canvas. I'm going to start at the top, and I'm painting in a curved sort of arc direction going left and right all the way across the canvas. So you want to go from one end to the next all the way across and go down about 5 inches with that aqua, and then load your brush in the white. So we're going to load our brush in the white, start below our aqua color and blend it up because we want our sky to get lighter as we work our way down. So our sky is a little bit darker at the top, gets lighter and lighter as we approach our horizon line. That horizon line is that hill line that we drew. So we're just going to keep doing this. My video is going to speed up just slightly here, but as always, you can press pause when you need to. So to catch up, take your time. And as we just keep working our way down, I'm going to just keep adding more white to my brush, starting below my color and then blending up. It's okay if you have streaks of aqua in there that don't blend all the way. I like that. If you don't, you can kind of work it some more to blend it all the way if you don't like the streaky look. But just keep adding white to it until the bottom part is going to turn into a very, very light turquoise as we get to the bottom hill line. And we're just going to keep going down. Occasionally, I'll blend my strokes all the way back up. You just want to be careful if you try to kind of work the top part of your painting, if you want to blend that some more, because the top part is going to dry fast because that was the first part we did. If it's dry, it's not going to be very workable. So if you want to go back and work it, you just want to kind of be careful, and you kind of want to work fast because it dries pretty quickly. We're going to keep going our way down with the white, left and right, curved strokes. Try not to go below your hill line, but if you do, that's okay. We won't be using any more of this aqua in this painting unless you decide to maybe paint one of the Easter eggs aqua. But what I do is when I have leftover paint on my palette like this, I'll take it and I'll paint the sides of it so I don't waste that paint. So that's what I did really quick, painted the sides. I don't always demonstrate painting the sides. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's kind of up to you if you want to paint the sides. So we're going to go ahead and move along here by doing the grass. So our grass consists of two colors, our grassy area, I guess. Is the two colors are light green permanent and this beige color, it's called Unbleached Titanium. And so I'm going to rinse my brush off. I'm still going to be using the 3/4 flat brush, and I'm going to mix about equal amounts of the beige and the green together. And I'm going to paint my hill in a curved direction, just like how I painted my sky in that curved direction. It's the same direction, but I'm not going to go all the way across. I'm going to go about a third of the way across and leave the middle area kind of open because I want that middle area to be a little bit lighter and a different color because that part's going to be under our truck. So I did the left side first, and then I'm doing the same thing on the right side, leaving that middle area open. It doesn't have to be an even open space, just a gap between both sides. Left and right, curved strokes. You can even take that color and extend it on the side of the canvas if you want. And then in the middle part, we're going to grab more of the beige color without rinsing the brush. So it's going to end up being a little bit of a green, like a green beige color. And you can add a little bit of white in there too to lighten that up. So grabbing a little bit of titanium white on the brush, not too much. Titanium white tends to be kind of a strong color that might take over a little bit fast. But the idea is just to get kind of a lighter color, a lighter green / beigey looking color to make it look kind of like there's a path right there. Not a really defined path, but just a lighter paved area right in the middle where our truck is going to be. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. Our main focus in this painting is our truck and our gnome and our little detailed Easter decorations. So that's going to be kind of the focus. Even if your sky and ground are not perfect, that's okay. Just lightly blending that up, trying not to blend it too much together because then it'll end up being the same color. And then you want to go ahead and let this dry because then we're going to be doing our template transfer. So our template won't transfer very well. It will, but it'll be messy if the paint isn't dry. So let that dry, come back and get your template ready. Again, this is printed out on 2 sheets. It's taped together. I had to cut along one of the dotted lines to get it to fit together. This template is optimized for the 11 by 14 inch canvas, and I have a sheet of graphite paper placed below. So look at the placement of it. The wheels, the bottom of the wheels, there's about 3/4 of an inch from the canvas to the bottom of the wheel, maybe at 3/4 to an inch. You can decide to have it a little bit higher if you want or lower. You want to make sure that our balloons fit all the way on the canvas. You just kind of want to position it, just double check to make sure everything's fitting right before you start the transfer. And then you place your paper, your graphite paper, shiny side down, and then you just press, this is just a regular pencil, and I'm just pressing firmly on all of the lines, and it's going to transfer the template. It's best to do this flat on the table, and it's best to press kind of firm. You don't want to like crease your canvas by pressing too hard, but pretty firm enough to where your image will show. And also because our background is light, the color, like the color of the paint is light, our drawing will show up nicely to where we can see it. We don't have to worry about making it dark enough to see. I'm just going to do all of these little details, and then when I'm done tracing everything, occasionally I'll lift it up to double check. I'm done tracing everything. I'll pull off my template, and we will be ready to paint this little guy in, this template design in. So this is kind of the order that I went in because this is a template painting. You could go in a different order if you wanted to paint your gnome first If that makes more sense to you, you can, but I tend to think in layers. So the back things are painted first and then the front things are painted last, which is why I'm going to paint the truck first, because that's kind of in the back and our gnome is in the truck and overlapping everything. And so are our eggs and balloons. So I loaded my palette with Dioxazine Purple, Brilliant Purple, and Titanium White. So dark purple, kind of a lavender color, and white. And I'm using my 3/8 inch angle brush to paint this. So I am doing a technique where I'm loading my brush in two colors. So I loaded that into the dark and the light purple, and I'm going to let those colors kind of blend on the canvas and do their thing. I'm going to have my strokes go in the direction of the shape. So I'm doing the window, the back window first, and it's like a rectangular shape. And I'm just using my brush to kind of fill in that shape. I'll outline it a little by using the tip of the angle brush, and then I'll use the full width of it to kind of get those curves and fill it in the horizontal and the vertical part depending on the direction of the shape. So the angle brush is nice because I can turn it, I can get into small corners with it, I can use the tip of it to outline, I can use the full width of it to fill in the bigger space, I can curve it around the egg if I need to. So there's a lot of versatility in this angle brush. If you prefer, you can use just a flat brush, or you can grab your round brush if you need that to kind of fill in some of these smaller areas. You're not limited. You don't have to use the exact brush that I'm using. This is just one that I chose to use for this step. So I'm just going to fill this in. Your colors will vary because when you go reload the brush, you might reload it in more of the darker purple or more of the light one time, and kind of vary it a little bit. You want to try not to over blend. The style of this painting is letting those colors kind of blend together, but trying not to over blend. It kind of gives it that variation, gives you some natural shading that you weren't even like purposefully doing. So there's my back window, and I painted some of the little corners behind the egg, and I might have to go back in and fill in some more purple areas later. I'm going to do the same thing to our back of our truck tailgate, and this back piece right here. So same thing, loaded that into both of my purples, and the sides of those are kind of curved. That time I grabbed some titanium white. So I want to create some contrast here. I'm going to have the outer part of this truck bed be a little bit lighter, and the inner part that's going to say Happy Easter, I'm going to make that a little bit darker. You can kind of do it the opposite way. If you wanted the outer part to be darker and the inner part to be lighter, you can do it that way. And so I'm just going to kind of outline the outer part, grabbing different amounts of the purples and the white as I need to. So that time I grabbed some white, just taking my time, going left and right to fill in that part of our truck bed. Taking that brush, kind of going horizontal, but then it kind of curves around that corner, letting those colors gently blend together on the canvas. Then this is the middle part that I was talking about. I'm going to use more of my dark purple on that, and I'm using more of the width of the brush in here because it's a larger area, and so I could fill in kind of a bigger area by using the full width. If you feel like this is too big of an area for this small angle brush, you could always grab your 3/4 flat and use that to fill in your area. Right here, I'm just going to see how that contrast is created. It's darker right there compared to the outer part. That's because I grabbed more of the darker purple that time around. So I'm creating contrast so this part stands out against the outer border part. And I'm just doing kind of quick horizontal strokes with that dark purple, using the full width of the angle brush. It's creating some variations in purple because I'm still using some of that lighter purple and the white in there too. Even though I'm trying to make it darker, I can still use those other colors as well. Going in there, kind of outlining that shape and kind of using the tip of the brush to define the shape and then filling it in. Our little gnome's beard is going to be overlapping our back of the truck bed, but for now I'm just going to paint over this because we can always go back and have the beard overlap it, but it would be kind of tedious to paint around that beard with all that texture in there. And so the whole piece is painted in, and then I'm going to go in there with some titanium white. Just a few strokes of titanium white in there, trying not to over blend it, just to kind of give it that shiny look with the white. So I can kind of go in there, do some curved strokes, so quick curved strokes on the side, gives it that shiny look. I did a few horizontal strokes with the white kind of in the middle part. So I'm doing kind of some purposeful highlighting here. So white, kind of curve. The white is blending a little bit with the purple that's on my brush. I could rinse it, but that's okay. I can just grab some more white. Just doing a few quick one stroke pieces of white, taking a step back and trying not to over blend it, just kind of leaving it like that. Gives it that shiny highlighted look. So then we're done with painting our truck, or at least the body, the purple body part of the truck. And then I'm going to grab my 3/4 wash brush again, grabbed a little bit of white on the tip of the brush, just a little bit, painting the window. So I don't want this white to be super solid, bright titanium white. I'm doing this in a way where the layer is very thin because there's only a little bit of paint on my brush, slightly watered down too. You could also do this dry brush style where you're kind of wiping off the paint and doing strokes, but I'm doing horizontal strokes to paint this window in. It's light enough to where I can see the drawing of the gnome below that white, so I'm not worried about accidentally covering up all the gnome in that area, but I didn't do it all the way across. I just did it on the sides where that window part would be. And then I'm going to go ahead and introduce a new color to my palette, Mars Black, because we're going to do our bumper, which is kind of a gray color, and we'll be doing the tires, which is a solid black color. So with the bumper, I started with the 3/4 wash brush. I double loaded that in the white and the black. You'll need a little bit more white than the black to get that gray color, but that bumper is a smaller area, so that 3/4 wash brush is too big of a brush to fill that in. So I switched to my angle brush, and again, about 1 part white, or actually 1 part black to like 3 or 4 parts white to fill in that shape, and it's going to turn kind of a shiny gray color. Again, try not to over blend the colors. I want it to be that gray look, so that time I grabbed a little bit more white, blending that in gently, filling in that bumper area. Next, we're going to do the tires. So you can use any brush that you feel comfortable with the tires. I'm going to use the 3/8 inch angle brush. However, if you want to use the round brush because it's kind of a curvy area, you can do that. I only used Mars Black for this, so Mars Black and the 3/8 inch angle brush, and kind of making sure I'm outlining that shape and then doing full width strokes, dragging up and down strokes to create that tire shape, defining the top part, and just filling that in solid black. Next, we're going to paint the gnome. So I'm going to get this brush all rinsed off and introduce some more beige. Actually, this is the second time we're using the beige. This is the Unbleached Titanium color, and we're going to paint our gnome's nose with it. and I'm going to use a number 4 round brush for this. So start with just our beige color, our unbleached titanium, and we're going to paint our oval in for the nose. Then if you want to create a little bit of shadowing on his nose, add a tiny bit of black, a very, very small amount of black into your beige. It's going to make kind of a grayish color, and paint the outside part, the outside inner part of that oval, and then blend it in wet on wet blending with the beige. So that kind of creates a darker ring around the nose. And then I painted his hands next. I just figured later that it might be easier to paint the beard next, so that's up to you. I'm deciding to paint the hand next, and I'm going to do the beard around the hand. Otherwise, you can do the beard next and then do the hands over the beard, so if you want to do it that way. But the hands, the little mitten hands, are the beige, that unbleached titanium color, so I just painted that shape in. The little oval and the thumb is holding a carrot. And then I'm going to do the beard. So rinse off your brush completely. If you need to freshen up your white and black, we're using white and black for the beard. I'm going to mix a very small amount of black into my white so it turns into a very light gray color. And I'm going to use my 4 round brush to do the beard. So the beard of this gnome, I do a lot of like wet on wet blending with it to create the texture of it. And the direction of your stroke kind of matters too. It's kind of in a contouring, kind of curvy direction. I'm starting at the top, just under the nose, and I'm doing small strokes that kind of curve outwards from the nose. When I go to reload the brush, I may add just a teeny bit of black. That time it got a little bit too dark than when I wanted it to, so I could either rinse or add more white to my brush. I'm going to actually add some more white to my palette here. You want to keep it light, and then we can gradually add little bits of black in there for the texture. So I'm just going to go back over there with the white. It's grabbing that darker color on there and it's blending. So the direction of my strokes, short, kind of curvy strokes. I had that beard go to a point overlapping the bed of the truck, kind of outlining the outer part of the beard. Short little strokes going around the hand, around the carrot. If we need to paint over our hand, that's okay. I want to kind of go around this carrot because I don't want to lose that shape, that drawing of the carrot, but if we lose it, that's fine. If it's easier for you to just paint over everything, that's okay. So right here under the nose, short little strokes, almost vertical strokes right under the nose. So I'm just kind of purposefully adjusting my gray color, letting that blend on the canvas, little bits of the white. Occasionally, we can grab a towel and kind of rinse the brush off. I'm going to go back in here with more white and just kind of do, again, just filling in our beard with short little strokes that kind of curve to create that hair texture. I'm going to go in here, kind of go over this darker area, some more of the curvy strokes. Fill in all of that area, and we can always go back in after the beard dries and add like another layer if we want to make it look darker or give it some more texture. We can go back in with some darker gray lines later, or even we can use the paint pen to kind of do some more detailed work later. But this is pretty good first layer for our beard. Filling it in. I know my hand is covering that part right there, but doing the same kind of textured strokes with that white. So that's it for our beard for now. I'm going to move along and start our hat up. So the hat was with Cerulean Blue, kind of a light medium blue color. You can definitely change the colors. If you want a different color hat, you can do a different color hat, like a yellow one or an Easter color, so that's up to you. This is just the color that I chose. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the hat. I'm using the 4 round brush for this, and just using the blue without any other colors mixed into it. We're going to mix some white into it in a little bit, but this is just the blue. And I'm just doing the hat where it hugs over That shape hugs over our nose and it goes all the way to the side where his beard is, and it's kind of curved on both sides. So I did that bottom part. And then without rinsing the brush, I'm going to grab white right there on the tip of the brush, and I'm going to start introducing that to the top part of the hat. So the direction of the strokes in this hat are curved left and right because that's kind of the shape of the hat, but then I'll also outline the sides of it. Right now I'm outlining the part that goes around the ears, and I'm outlining this shape of the hat. So this is white and blue on my brush, blending together on the canvas, double loading my brush in the white and the blue. I reloaded that brush in blue that time, and I'm outlining the shape of the hat. It's curvy, outlining that curvy drawing part, and then I will fill in the hat using left and right curved directions. So I outline the shape, and then in the middle of the hat, my strokes are going in a curved direction. My brush is still double loaded in the blue and the white. So when I go to reload, I reload it in blue and white. Blue and white are blending together in curved direction. The blue does not have to stay consistent. Again, I go for the unblended look with the blue and the white mixing together, but they don't have to mix together all the way to create the same tint of blue all throughout. And so I'm just going to do this technique all up the hat. Added a little bit of lighter blue to that darker part, but I still wanted that bottom part to be darker just to create some contrast in that bottom part of the hat. And I'm just going to do the same technique all up to the hat, all the way to the point. Next, I'm going to paint the ears, the bunny ears that are sticking out from the hat. So I'm going to go ahead and rinse the round brush off and use just the titanium white for the outer edge of our ears. Rinse, dry, load it in the white, and paint the ears. So I'm leaving the middle part open for the pink area. I'm just doing the outer inner part of the ear. And then we'll go ahead and paint our left ear. For the inner part of the ear, we'll use medium magenta. So I'm going to load my palette with a teeny bit of that color. We don't need a lot right now. And I'm going to grab titanium white. I'm going to mix a little bit of titanium white into that magenta color to lighten that pink up. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint the center of it using the kind of the diagonal strokes that go in that direction. I'm going to do that to both of the ears. On the base of this ear, I grabbed a little bit of white and just did little diagonal white strokes right there on the bottom and just kind of blended that up into the pink to kind of give it that look where it kind of blended into a lighter white color towards the bottom. Then I'm going to repeat the same thing over here on our left ear. I'm going back in with my blue here and just defining the base of both of those ears with that darker blue. And then I'm going to paint the carrot, the little carrot that our gnome is holding. So I'm going to load my palette with a little bit of Cad Orange Hue. You can use any orange that you have. And then this is still the number 4 round brush, and I'm just going to paint our little triangular narrow carrot shape in. It's going behind his hands. It's kind of a curved shape at the top, going around his hand. If we need to paint over our hand, that's okay, or if we need to paint over the beard in any area, that's okay. The beauty about acrylics is that when it dries, we can always paint over it. So we got our little carrot shape in, and then I'll be using the green, the light green permanent for the little green part, the greenery part on the top of the carrot. I'm just going back in with kind of a second coat to fill this in all solid. Sometimes orange tends to be kind of a translucent color, so doing it with a second coat helps with the coverage so we don't see any of the beard texture through the orange. So I'm going to rinse and grab some more light green permanent for the green part. And then I just did little angular strokes on the top of this, nothing too fancy. We can make it short or long depending on how you want it. I'm kind of making it go, not overlapping his nose too much. Didn't want to lose the full shape of that nose, but just a few little angled strokes in there with the green, enough to make it look like the top of the carrot. Then I'm going to go in and just add some darker textures into the beard. I made kind of a medium gray color with the black and the white, just a little bit darker than the beard, so these little strokes will show up. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but just a few little strokes in there to add to the texture of his beard. We'll create some more contrast in those hands later with the paint pen so it kind of stands out a little bit better, but I want that to all dry before we do paint pen detail work. Okay, so then we're going to move along and paint our Easter eggs in. So you could choose any color for these Easter eggs. I just grabbed primary yellow for the right egg, and on the one on the left I kind of made like a peach color. So again, you can copy my colors or you can do your own colors. This would look really cool with like a bright fluorescent pink or whatever color you want to use for that. So I painted that solid yellow, and I had a teeny bit of white on the left side of it just to kind of tint kind of highlight the left side of the egg. You don't have to do that, but kind of paint in a curved direction in the shape of the egg. So the one on the left is kind of a peach color, so I kept that yellow on my brush, grabbed some the medium magenta color, so I mixed the yellow and the magenta, grabbed our Unbleached Titanium color, mixed that all together, added a little bit of white to it. Sometimes it's fun just to make up colors on your palette. And so I have this kind of light pastel-y pink peach color that I did for the egg over here on the left. And just outline the shape of the egg, kind of curved strokes to fill that in. And then a few little strokes of that color on this one as well. But before we do the designs on the egg, we have to let that dry. So we're going to move along and do our carrots, our other carrots. So same thing, the orange color on our palette. So filling that shape in. Did this pretty much the same way I did it with the carrot that our gnome is holding, and I used the green, the light green permanent for the leaves. So I painted both carrots first, then rinsed and dried the brush, and then do the green part. Then I did the balloons. So the balloon on the right is a bunny peep shape balloon, and that one is medium magenta. Again, you feel free to change the color up if you want to do this a different color. So I did pink first, outlined the shape of the balloon, and then filled it in. The strokes are going in a circular direction to form the shape. Did the bottom part, the top, and the ears. And then before that pink dried, I did some wet on wet highlighting here. You could also just wait for that to dry to do that, but I used white and just one curvy stroke on the left side of both the ears, the head, and the body part, bottom body circular area of bunny. And then I'm going to do the balloon on the left, and I did that with primary yellow. If that yellow doesn't show up, I recommend, because yellow tends to be kind of a translucent color, add some white into that yellow so it'll show up bright and opaque. So mix about equal parts yellow and white together. That'll give you that bright yellow color. I'm going to add a second coat to the nose with the Unbleached Titanium. So grabbing the foreground using the Unbleached Titanium, just adding a second coat on there. If you feel like the hands need a second coat too, you can add a second coat to that. Also, especially since we did the carrot, we can touch up any part to make sure that the hands are overlapping all of the part of the carrot where it needs to overlap. Next, I'm going to do some detail work towards the bottom of the painting, starting with the texture on the tires. So titanium white and the number 4 round brush. So I did quick, very, very quick diagonal strokes that went one way, and then very, very quick diagonal strokes that went the other way. So I did that to both of the tires very lightly. Those lines are not bold or consistent. They're just very quick, kind of sketchy sort of lines. And then I didn't rinse my brush off for this, but I went straight to my light green permanent, and I did the grass texture. So starting with the grass texture on both sides of the tires, so these little grass pieces are going kind of diagonally slash kind of curved on either side of the tire. And then I just did random, I'm not doing realistic grass in this, by the way, just random little bits of bunches of crabgrass all over. So just little diagonal bunches of grass kind of all throughout our little hill area. I didn't do as much in the middle part because remember the middle part's kind of lighter, kind of a paved area, so that part's not going to have grass in the middle. But if you wanted to do grass everywhere, you can. Then I'm going to do kind of a shadowy sort of paved area under the tires. So I did a medium gray color. So I mixed about 3 parts white to 1 part black, watered it down to kind of a watercolor consistency, used my number 4 round brush, and I just did left and right very loose kind of curved strokes under both of the tires all the way to the bottom of the canvas, and that creates kind of a paved shadowy area under our tires, so it looks like the truck isn't just floating there, it's actually on the ground. Then I'm going to do some more details on our gnome. He's got polka dots on his hat. Optional if you don't want to do polka dots, or if you wanted to do a different design like stripes, it's up to you, but I just did titanium white. And there ended up being a teeny bit of yellow in this titanium white from my palette. So they're kind of an off-white, but that's okay. So I just did little circles kind of all throughout the hat. Some of the circles are going on the side to kind of make it look like it's going off to the side of the hat where it kind of curves around. So you can do full circles, half circles on the side. They're all pretty much the similar size. So I draw my circle in with the brush and then I paint it in solid. Then I'm going to mix orange with a teeny bit of black, just making like a super dark orange. I want to do some texture on the carrots. So with the really dark orange, I'm just doing very thin kind of curved lines down the carrot. I did this to the 2 carrots on the left and the right. The one in the middle I'll touch up with the paint pen later, kind of a smaller area. So then, lots of details in this painting. I did some little flowers on the bottom using the titanium white. I'm just doing little 5-petaled flowers using the round brush, just making teeny tiny strokes. I didn't do this to all of the bunches of grass, just a lot of them. Gives it some pretty spring flowery things going on the ground. You can also, I thought about doing like little Easter eggs on the bottom, but wasn't really sure how that would look. But if you wanted to paint little Easter eggs on the bottom, you can do that too. You can do like a Easter basket on the ground. There's lots of things that you can customize with this painting other than the colors. You can add some fun extra Easter details to it. The ones kind of further in the distance, we can just do little dots instead of the full flowers, or you can do a full petal flower in the distance. You don't have to worry about perspective too much. And then I did one little curved highlight line on the top of his nose. And then if our eggs are dry, we can go in and do the designs. So if you're going to do colored designs, regardless if you're going to do colored designs or not, I recommend doing your pattern design thing with white first, waiting for the white to dry, and then coloring it over it, just so your color will be opaque and give good coverage. So this is just titanium white and the number 4 round brush. And on this egg, I did zigzags, I did little dots, and I did just a kind of a thicker line on the bottom. And then for our egg on the left, kind of a similar thing, but then I painted this pink after this white dried. So I did kind of a wavy line, circle, little dots, and another line. Again, feel free to change colors, shapes, patterns, and customize this to your liking. I did little highlights on the top of our carrots. There's something about doing just one quick white stroke to make something look shiny and kind of gives it some extra pop and contrast to it. I did it to that carrot as well. And then we're going to move along to our detail work with our paint pen. These POSCA paint pens are super helpful for our thin sort of details. So I use the paint pen to draw the strings of the balloons. I also used it to create some contrast in the hands. So instead of outlining the entire hand, I just kind of loosely outlined the inner part of the shape. I also loosely outlined the bottom part of his nose and did a few little kind of outlines on the edges of his beard that gives our gnome a little bit of contrast, so we kind of get some areas of that to pop so we can see our gnome more clearly, because he kind of blends in with some of the colors of the egg and the truck. And then I also used the paint pen to write Happy Easter. I was a little disappointed with the lettering on this because it wasn't so bold. If I had a white paint pen, or if you have a white paint pen, you might want to try that, especially if your truck bed, the back of it is dark and the black isn't showing up very well. You can use a brighter color to get that to show up. But I just did it in cursive, Happy Easter. If you're not confident with your writing, you could sketch it out first and then go over it. And then I outlined the inner part of our window with the black. I outlined the curved part over here on the left and the right. You want to be careful with your paint pen. Sometimes it gets tempting to outline everything, and I don't like the look of outlining everything. So I outlined a few things that I need to get to pop, but not everything. So I also did the little license plate. And so I wrote the word hip hop, or the words hip hop first, and then I did the license plate around it so I can make sure it fit properly. So I did hip hop, I did a rectangular shape around the letters, and then I grabbed my titanium white to highlight that. So just on the left part of it, I did vertical and then horizontal to do our little kind of semi-outline highlight of the license plate. And then I did spots on our yellow balloon with the titanium white and also that number 4 round brush. Then I applied a second coat to the medium magenta rabbit balloon with the titanium white. There's still white, or with the medium magenta, there's still titanium white on my brush as well. So it turned into kind of a lighter pink when doing this second coat. I only did it kind of on the inside part of it and didn't do it over the highlight because I didn't want to redo the highlight. But it kind of worked out nice. It made the balloon kind of look almost more 3D by doing that. So this is just medium magenta with a little bit of white on the brush too, and just going back over that with the second coat and not going over the highlighted area. Then I went in with my paint pen and decided to do the little carrot marks on the one carrot in the middle with the black paint pen. So I'm just pretty much touching this up with all these little details. Our Easter egg on the left, that one got pink over the white. So I decided to make this one have colored decorations. And then I did the mirrors on the left and the right. So this part of the painting was not in our traceable template, so I'm just kind of adding those in here as a bonus. If you don't want to add the rear view mirrors, you don't have to. I started with the paint pen and did little horizontal tick marks on the left and right, and then I loaded my palette with some fresh Dioxazine Purple. I'm using my number 4 round brush, and I'm just going to paint kind of a rectangular area for our mirror, and then the outer part on the right is a little bit curved instead of straight, and the inside of the mirror is going to be painted white. So I'm going to do the same thing on the left, kind of make sure it's lined up. It doesn't have to be perfect. Kind of go around or it's got to go behind our balloon strings. So a similar shape rectangle with a little bit of a curved line on the left. And then I'll paint the inside part of our mirrors white. So I just did kind of diagonal strokes, but then I ended up just kind of filling it in vertically instead of going diagonally. Then you can kind of highlight those if you want with the white on the curved part. I did a little highlight on the left part of his hat. Those polka dots are dry, by the way. And a little highlight over here on the left part. There's just a few more details I'm going to add to this. Totally optional if you don't want to do this to your painting, or if you feel like you don't need all these extra little details. But I wanted to do a few more grass textures on the bottom with the green. Then I just did a little bit of outlining on my egg just to get that part to pop a bit. Not outlining the entire thing, just kind of half the way. And on the carrot as well, just on one side of the carrot. Gives it a little bit of pop. And that is it. This is the conclusion of Easter Gnome. Little gnome in a purple truck. Hope that you enjoyed painting this too. Thanks for watching, and thanks for painting with me.